11 minutes past 12, alive 90.5, Business Insights with Mary and Darren.
And thank you to all listeners on Line 90.5. I'd like to say thank you personally to Darren for making this show sounds good, look good. So join to us on the Facebook. Just find Business Insights with Darren and Mario. Mari, Darren, you can't miss it. It's alive in the studio with our guest. But let's go cracking in. Darren with our guest. And Katarina, welcome back to the studio.
Thanks for having me. Great to be back.
You're welcome. And look, last time we spoke about some healthy other things, but your personal journey and your professional journey, I apologize, your professional journey is changed. Can you share with our listeners what is changed from vitamin C, like being health professional for so many years and now helping to our listeners, to all people in Australia, globally who tune in right now with your new
the new journey that
the
we're
new journey. I will call it the new journey. Like I
love the word
like
journey.
I don't want to say services or products. So share with us.
Well, thank you for having me back. Great to be back. And as you know, Mario, I'm a great health enthusiast.
That is great.
Yeah, and I love helping people. It gives me great sense of fulfillment. But I guess what's changed for me is that through a few collision of events this year, I've been brought back to the sleep world, and I've mentioned to you in the past that a lot of my half my time in health has actually been spent working in sleep, but clinically and commercial sleep,
Yeah.
and I've really discovered I have a great passion for this area because I've seen the good and the ugly side, and by that I mean I've seen people have terrible health, terrible health as a result of not sleeping well, not only for themselves but for other people that they live with. And at the same time, I've seen great results in how people can have lived the fullest lives once they gain sleep health. And sleep is one of these really important foundations in your health. If you don't have it, you can't have good health. There's no question about it. You have to have good sleep health to live a fulfilled life.
I just want to share something with our listeners, and I have full right to say this. Apart from me being a businessman, but Darren and I share the passion, interviewing people like yourself who are true unsung business heroes, people who are not try to sell but to deliver, the passion through the services and products as well, because there's a difference between people who selling things and people who has a passion about, like yourself, about sleep. So now, the first and foremost important question from the professional like you, how much we need to have a sleep? Darren, he says it's about 12 hours because, that's what he goes sleep 6 o'clock at night and wake up 6 a.m. and drives a bicycle for 500 kilometers. But jokes aside, how much sleep we need to have?
Look, for an average adult, it's around 7 to 9 hours per night is what you need. When you generally have, a lot of studies say if you're sort of getting 5 to 6 a night, then you're just not getting enough. And there's a lot of well-documented research that links lots of various health conditions to those that do sleep less than 7 to 9.
Can you share with our listeners what are those issues we have if we don't sleep enough?
Gosh, it's everything. If you don't sleep enough, you can be on the rickety road for mental health issues, like just the way you feel about yourself. When you don't get a good night's sleep, and you're used to having a good night's sleep, you just go, God, I just don't feel the best today. Your immune health. I mean, your immunity is so linked to what happens when you sleep. Your heart health. Your heart needs to, your heart needs to get like a good amount of sleep, but good quality sleep. Your gut health. Oh my gosh, your gut health is everything in your health, and it is linked to the way that you sleep, and it's like a two-way street for gut health. What happens in the gut health can affect your sleep. What happens in your sleep affects your gut health.
I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting you, but I know we spoke in before the show. And, that was my personal question, but let's go share with our listeners. I ask you a question, Katarina, how important it is good sleep for the body weight, not just the loss, but maybe sustain or, not to gain the weight, but even losing. So, how that is important?
Yeah, look, we know that to have, in health, to have good weight is really important for everything in your health, and but we know that there's an area that's still there's a lot to learn, but there is enough information out there to show that people who don't sleep very well do struggle with their weight. And I feel really sorry for people in this area. And I was only having a conversation with someone the other day. You know, I feel sorry for the people that are overweight, are struggling to lose weight. They're eating generally really well. They are exercising as that they're meant to be, that they've been recommended to by their doctor, but they just can't shift the weight. And we have to look at our sleep health. If our sleep health isn't good, then there's likely that you're going to have problems with the weight, because when you sleep, when you have good sleep, you produce a lot of hormones. And some of those hormones help to regulate your appetite and your hunger and are linked to your metabolism. So things like insulin is really, really important with the way that it helps you to uptake glucose and use glucose. And when you don't sleep well, you can have problems with your insulin. And I have been on that road myself. So I've personally been on that road. And
can you share with us?
Yeah. So going back, you know, and this is actually when I was working in really in the thick of commercial sleep health. I was working in a commercial sleep health project with one of Australia's leading dietitians to come up with a lifestyle modification program for people with sleep apnea. Anyway, during this program, I said, "Look, I've got to become a customer. I need to see what my patients would go through to really understand it." So I'm so glad I went on this journey, and I've actually started writing a series about my story called "How My Dietitian Saved My Life." And what I discovered in this journey that I went on, that look, I'm someone who's body weight. My weight is 58 kilos. I'm about 170 centimeters, so I'm not overweight. But I was found to have insulin resistance. And
This is
insulin
interesting. Like you will expect somebody says like me, and I mean, it's going to say like this guy, heart attack, cholesterol, and everything else. But you know, it's funny what you said. You know, I mean, you have the healthy weight, I would say, right? And you know, but then you have the insulin problem. So what was changed?
Yeah. So it was interesting at this particular time. I think of my dietitian, who was this, I guess, business partner with me at the time. Yeah. She just said, you know, you need to. I was working long hours. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was eating on the run. I wasn't always eating bad, but I probably could have been eating better. But because I symptomatically, I looked fine and I didn't have too many symptoms. I really was a bit of like one of those slow burning cookers, like on the road to the rickety journey. And I'm so glad. If I hadn't been picked up when I don't know where I'd be right now. And so for me, I did really simple things over a few months. I said, right, that's it. I should actually know better than this. I need to actually sleep more. I need to go to bed. And I find myself, I need about 7.5 to 8 hours sleep a night to function well. I actually need to start eating routinely throughout the day, not just on the run.
Yes.
I need to actually eat a better combination of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats at every single meal. I've never been a dieter, but I thought I actually need to eat more as a dietitian would recommend. Yes. And then my dietitian said, right, you need to take a few other different supplements because you're a bit low in things. I was really iron deficient as well. And what I found over a couple of months was amazing. Without doing anything, I started to lose, and I didn't need to lose, but I started to lose quite a lot of inches around my stomach and my thigh. It was just falling off me. And I felt better. My skin was so much better. And it was really, and I didn't realize how abnormal I felt, because I said to my dietitian one day, and this is why I came up with the title, How My Dietitian Saved My Life. But I said, oh my God, I said, I didn't realize how bad I felt. I said, I feel like, because she said, how are you feeling? I said, I actually feel like I've regained my life. I feel like the brain fog is gone. I feel so much happier. I feel relaxed and I feel really good about myself. Like I didn't realize what it felt like to feel really good until I'd sort of gone through this journey. And look, it was a simple journey, and it was this was after about 12 weeks. And what I attribute all the changes to was that I really managed to impact my gut health. So my gut microbiome definitely became healthier, and I was doing some interesting gut microbiome tests at the time. My levels of, when I was retested again with the glucose tolerance test to look at my insulin levels, they were shocked, like the GP and the dietitian, like, wow, like, this is remarkable. Like your numbers have completely changed, but you've reversed You're really where you needed to be, not where you have been. And then the other thing that, one of the other things I sort of mentioned, that when you sleep, it regulates a lot of your hormones. And so I was also found to have some thyroid problems and a risk of do I have Hashimoto's syndrome? And so it's found to have some cysts in my thyroid at the time.
Oh,
and
such an interesting story.
yeah,
It's just a sleep. I just can't stop. I will try to make some notes for the further questions. But on that note, is it necessary that we sleep in one whole 7 to 9 hours, or we can, I don't know, I love to have afternoon nap sometimes.
Well, now listen, Murray.
It's extend 2-3 hours afternoon.
Well,
so.
now, if you do want to have the power nap,
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with having the power nap.
Ah,
I
okay.
don't mind having a little nana's nap every now and again,
Yeah.
but you've got to make sure that it's for no more than 20 minutes.
What do you mean?
Well, so if you
So
decide you need to lie down and have a little power nana's nap, it's got to be 20 minutes. And the reason for that is that if you have any more than 20 minutes, you fall into too deep a sleep, and then it will have adverse effects with the way that you need to go to bed at night. It will affect your sleep-wake sort of
I think that's
cycle.
what it is. What do you think, Darren? Do you have
Totally agree.
20 minutes,
Do you have
that's
the
it.
granny nap like Mario Becker's?
No, I can't do the granny nap or the power nap. I just never can.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Very
well,
And so
Really?
you must be sleeping really well then, Darren.
Very
because
rarely.
it ta- because it
Except
takes
if
all-
I'm on holidays and
Yeah.
really, really relaxed and on the couch, nice after a swim in the morning, that kind of gets you sleepy. Apart from that, no, I never do the power nap.
Yeah, and so
well,
you
this is wrong, my man, because you should try it for 2 hours.
Maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to live 90.5 Business Insights with Darren and Mario. We'll take a short break, and our guest in studio, Catherine Nixon, she shared with us the insights and the tips how to have a better sleep and why it's important to have a good sleep. As she mentioned, heart problems, thyroids, body weight, and our list just goes on. So stay with us at Alive 90.5 Business Insights with Mario and Darren.
7 minutes past 12, Alive 9.5, Business Insights with Mary and Darren.
Business Insights with Darren and Mario, and thank you to all listeners for tuning in and listening to this awesome interview with Catherine Nixon, sharing with us why the sleep is very important, 7 to 9 hours. And Darren and I have the argument he doesn't have the granny sleep. I do have because I'm older. I'm a senior citizen. I need more. Catherine, she told me there's a 20 minutes sleep limit, and I do 2 hours. So I exceeding all sleeping patterns. That's the reason why I'm fat and round. Now, Catherine, there's with the sleep comes to the flip side of the coin, which obviously comes to the section of disturbing sleeping pattern. Let's just say it's like snoring. Why do we snore, and how we can stop snoring? Is the snoring beneficial? It's like,
Well,
can you share with our listeners?
yeah, well, look, it can be a bit of a funny topic, but for anyone that lives with a snorer, if you've ever met a snorer, they'll all deny no one snores. But if you ever meet someone who lives with a snorer,
Look, I'd share something with you.
You know.
I slept in a room with the 50 men. Let me clarify this, define this differently. When I was in military, I shared a lot of space with the many men sleeping as a buddies. How would you call this? As my mates, and nobody snores, but we knew who's snoring. And its repercussion will be terrific for that person. Anyway, so yes, I know what nobody snores. Everybody
so
snores.
the sleep deprived people that lived with the snorers, so it becomes a bit of a household problem, and then obviously a lot of people can have relationship issues just because of snoring. So we think it's funny, but actually it is a big problem. And so stat-wise, about 40% of the population snores, and half of them all have just plain snorers, and the other half actually have a really common condition, a sleep disorder called sleep apnea, that you may have heard of. And it's largely underdiagnosed, undertreated, but snoring is a very common symptom of that sleep group. But it's a problem because if you have sleep apnea and you don't treat it, you are destined to have many, many health issues.
So how do you help the people, Darren? Let's go say one person is snoring, and other person, has a deprivation of the sleep. Somebody has 9 hours of the nice and comfy sleep. Actually,
I was wondering if that's what a pillow's for.
Well,
share with us, Katrina, please.
Well, the one who's not snoring, who's sleep deprived, is doing a lot of elbowing all night, and actually they are probably more sleep deprived probably than the person who is snoring. But if you're snoring and you have something like sleep apnea, it's fragmented sleep all night. Like you might go to bed for 8 hours, but you haven't slept for 8 hours. And so when we talk about sleep health, we're talking about the time, the amount of time you get in bed, the quantity, but we're talking about quality. And, you know, some people who might be listening now, I go, God, I go to bed for 10 hours and I wake up feeling horrible. I have headaches. I have all these problems. And surely, like, my sleep is all right. It's like if you wake up feeling, if you've been told you snore, if you wake up feeling unrefreshed and you just don't feel like you're ready to face the day, then there's a problem with your sleep and or whatever, you know, the other person you're sleeping with, and you need to do something about it.
Tell me something. I'm just curious. Why people snore?
Well, so snoring is the sound of
obviously it's a common thing for the fat people like me. Like we come, but what's with skinny people like Catharine and yourself? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, lots of different reasons why you snore. So snoring really is this audible sound you get from vibration in the airways. So your tongue is the biggest offender because it's the biggest muscle in your airways. So when it's a bit sloppy and weak and it's vibrating at nighttime, you get this really loud, audible roar. It's not even a noise. Like it can be like a train. Like for some people, like it's like a roar. Like what type of roar have you got? But the problem is that if when you begin to get this instability in your airway, so snoring shows you've got instability in your airway. Now, if it goes beyond snoring, then you might get your airway actually closing off, where you get no breath, you stop breathing. And that's abnormal. It's not normal to. So
the snoring is not exclusively reserved to just people like me, overweight and round and everything else. Anybody can snore.
Yeah. So we find that for women and men tend to snore differently, but when it's true, and there is some science behind it. So for women, we tend to find women are quieter with the snoring, but snoring for women can become more pronounced when they start to go through menopause. So hormonal changes can bring on things like sleep apnea, but symptoms like snoring. So if someone is a female and say, God, I never used to snore, but now I'm like, you're noticing these other changes in your body and you're starting to notice things like snoring. It's really normal. So changes in hormones for women can bring on the onset of snoring. But for instance, if we look at genetically, some people have got really small airways. And so when they go to bed at nighttime, they get so much crowding in their airways. So people who of Asian descent are at really high risk of sleep apnea. And if you look at a lot of Asian people, they're really quite slim build, skinny, but there's a high incidence of sleep apnea in that population, and they all snore. And it's because of the genetical makeup in their airways. So anatomically, genetics can play a little bit of a role just due to the way that your airway might look and be. Yes, weight is one. If you're a man, if you have a neck size greater than 17 inches, you're at risk of, snoring, but sleep apnea. And in females, changes in hormones.
Before I pass to Darren, I just had a question. Is it dangerous snoring?
Well, yeah, you could say it is. But with the fact that it's linked to sleep disorders, absolutely. But there are some interesting research out there looking into the effects of snoring. And actually, are there links between, so as your airway is vibrating, and is there links between that and having a stroke? Because actually the vibration in your airway might actually dislodge, things that might actually contribute to strokes. There's some really interesting studies going in there that actually snoring actually isn't good, but there's still a lot to learn. But the fact that it's linked to common sleep disorders is
Look, I have a list of the questions for you, but I'll let my partner in crime, Darren, to ask you one question today.
I was thinking, Catherine, if snoring's bad, how do we control it and how do we manage it?
Great question. So there's lots of things out there for snoring. So for instance, if you have sleep apnea, you may have heard of a machine called CPAP or APAP. Some people call it the crap machine. It's but it's a
crap.
Do you know that's kind of like the consumer terminology when they mishear things, but basically positive airway pressure. So having a little mask on your face that blows air into your airway to open it up so you can breathe. So that's like gold standard if you've got snoring with sleep apnea. There's also things that your dentist can make called mandibular advancement splints, where you can have these little, like a mouth guard, made in your mouth that pull your jaw forward a couple of mil to open up your airway enough that it resolves the snoring, but also might treat things like mild OSA. Hopefully next year, sometime in the next 12 months, hopefully Australia is going to get its hands on a pretty cool med tech gadget that's coming to the market from the UK. That is a daytime treatment where you put this little tiny piece of silicone in your mouth that provides electrical stimulation to your tongue. Because remember, I said your tongue is the biggest muscle feature there and the offender when it comes to snoring. And it provides electrical stimulation to the tongue to strengthen the muscle tone in the tongue. And you use it for 20 minutes a day over 6 weeks. And that actually has research is showing a really profound effect in reduction of snoring and for treatment of mild OSA. So that's something coming maybe in the next sort of 12 months. And the product's called Excite OSA.
So just thinking about those things and thinking about what we've been talking about. So they're very much technological, get that right, advancements about the mouth, the jaw, the position, the tongue. But also there might be other underlying factors of why people snore. Now, is it a risk that those, like taking on those technological type advances, may mask the underlying condition that also needs to be treated?
No. So if you take on those particular med tech devices because they're recommended as something that can help you resolve the snoring, then they will allow you to have good sleep health and they will allow you to resolve that symptom that is causing a problem. And so by treating the problem, because remember in medicine, the more functional you are, and if you get to the root cause and treat at the root cause, that's when you have profound effect in your health. So from that point of view, if you take on those treatments and you get rid of your snoring and you feel really good, then you are going to have better sleep health.
I'm very curious.
Without a doubt.
I'm very curious how to do this because sleep is very important. Like, unfortunately, I like to be upset with myself sometimes that I'm 48 years old and I'm learning now the importance of many things in my life, like sleeping. I was always truly believing like a Darren, we are invincible, indestructible. We are going to last forever. But as older I become more aware of the things, and I'm truly grateful to have you, Catherine, today in the studio, because your expertise and your credibility, authority, is second to none. And thank you for sharing with our listeners. We'll take a short break, Darren. What do you say?
Indeed.
No swim for the weekend, don't you worry. But the easy restriction use of 12, yes, we're going to talk about this in a break. You're listening along 90.5 Business Insights with Mario and Darren, and our guest of authority, credibility, Catherine Nixon. She's going to continue sharing with us more insights, why sleeping is good, how to sleep, how to not to snore, and why not to drive the 300 kilometers bicycle like a Darren Cape Davis, my partner in crime. I love him. See you.
Minutes to 1, alive 90.5 Business Insights with Mario and Darren.
And I'd like to say thank you to Catherine Nixon being with us in the studio, to all of you who are interested about sleep, why sleep is important. And as I said today earlier in the show, an interview with Catherine, it's embarrassing to say I'm 48 years old man and still learning, and I'm learning now why sleep is important and how much sleep you need. And the snoring is not disease, as Catherine says. There is a machines that put you in your mouth and your throat and everything else. You sleep like this. So, Catherine, how do you help people when it comes to sleep? We know that you're a very passionate woman. There's no question asked. You've been with us in studio before. We know you have a credibility, authority, but how do you actually helping people with the sleep?
Yeah, thanks, Mario. So I've mentioned that I have this, I love sleep, and I have this great respect for gut health and curiosity there. And really the road that I'm on now is, I guess in its simplest way, is hacking sleep through gut health, so through micro and macronutrients. And along that, and to be able to do that, there's different health coach programs. We're going to have some community groups where people can join just to grab information, and if they want to come into programs, they can. And in our programs, I work with sleep physician and dietitian, and allow people to have that personalised health experience that they need to really be able to hack their gut to actually help them achieve greater sleep health. And in doing that, you won't actually, just improve your sleep, but you'll actually fix so many other parts of your overall well-being. And it was only just the other night I was on a webinar with another wellness enthusiast, and a couple of people in our webinar sort of flagged as someone who probably has sleep disordered breathing. So when I come across those instances, I know exactly where to sort of help refer people into the industry with people that I know really well.
It sounds trivial, this, Darren, right? We know how you can help with the sleep, it looks like very trivial, right? Like you're gonna tell me how to sleep, But reality is many people actually don't sleep very well, and keep us awake, watching the movies or whatever TVs, and particularly if you're watching the news, maybe before you go sleep, there's guarantee you'll not sleep, in the morning. But then
also people are on their devices, and so they're on the devices, kind of this bright light in their eyes, not letting their circadian rhythms and all those sort of things take place as well. So I think that's as important as gut health. What would you say?
Absolutely, yeah. So part of the programs, it's really helping people to learn the sleep strategies that they need, sort of what you need to do to set yourself up for sleep. And we know that many people take sleep for granted, and people just generally don't think about sleep until suddenly things aren't working and you start to become really stuck. And I think that's everything in health. We generally start to realise things need fixing when we're in that spot of bother. We think we're invincible, I think, half the time.
Once, I want to ask you one question because it's not related to adults. So the sleep is important for adults, but how sleep is important for the children?
God, really important.
Do you help the children as well?
The peds isn't an area that I specialise in, but I certainly like if people, if anyone's listening and looking for help, I absolutely know where you can connect. And a lot about in health is what you know, what you understand, who you connect with. And if you want to get stuff done in health, you've got to connect with the right people who can just help get stuff done really fast. But look, from a children point of view, we know that kids need a whole lot more sleep than adults because they're growing in different ways and growing at a phenomenal rate. And there's a lot of studies out there that show that when kids don't get adequate sleep, they might have mood disorders, behavioural issues, and then that affects the way that they perform at school and the way that they might socialise in their community with their friends, and it might affect the way that they are able to participate in physical activity, which we know is really important for kids. So sleep is really important, and sleep, kids need anything from sort of, I guess, 11 to 13 or 10 to 13 hours sleep, depending on how old they are. But
funny you say that, 10 to 13 hours. I asked the doctor once. We went with Matteo in hospital for checkup, for his epilepsy, and I said to the doctor, is it normal that he goes sleep at 8:30 in the night? I was thinking because of the pills he takes, to control epilepsy. I wakes up every day 6:30. He says to me, "What's wrong?" I was like, "It's wrong sleeping like 10, 11 hours." He says to me, "No, every kid should sleep that way." So I support that statement, and society in we living right now during the COVID, it's becoming very turbulent for the many people. So the people who don't experience good sleep during the COVID and before the COVID has slept well, you help them as well now? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, when we look at sleep, when sleep is just not right, so either we'll have health issues that will create sleep problems or events in our life that will create sleep problems, or we'll have sleep problems that create other things in our health. But what we found, I think we're seeing this right now with COVID-19, is that, people are locked up. People are stuck in these abnormal types of situations, and it's affected people's mood and the way that they feel about themselves during the day. They're not able to do all the normal things that they would. And I think then what happens, we then, our normal routines about how we set ourselves up for sleep, are we getting enough exercise during the day? Are we watching movies at night time? I think I think COVID-19 has disrupted that because people have had to bring their work into their homes. We're all together. We're living this sort of dysfunctional kind of setup. And so I think that's really spiraled out to make the routine to bed quite dysfunctional. Yeah. And then that becomes the new norm, doesn't it?
May I ask you, so let's just say during COVID, I'll say I was blessed, I shared quite time, not just in studio, but outside the studio with Darren, so I could talk to him. We do some projects together. We are lucky living in New South Wales comparing to Victoria. But would you be advocating or supporting people take sleeping pills, or rather going to see you?
Actually, to connect with me, because the reason I say that is that if look, there is a place for sleeping medication, which must be prescribed by a doctor, and you'd probably have a sleep physician involved. And so, when would that be appropriate? Well, it might be appropriate if you've been through a very stressful event in your life and you need some assistance. So it could be that you've been through surgery and you've got pain and you need a hand. But they're short-term things, and they're things that only for short-term. And if you are relying on sleeping medication to help you have a good night's sleep, it's the wrong way to look at it. Mm-hmm. You are setting yourself up not for success, but for long-term problems, and you won't get good quality sleep. The way to get good quality sleep is learning the strategies. What are the basics? And I think a lot of us just don't understand the basics, setting yourself up for sleep. Like I said, we were chatting before offline, Mara, and I was saying, sleeping is an active process. Where asleep, so much stuff happens when our eyes are shut. But it's also an active process during the day. There's a lot of stuff that we can do during the day to actually get ourselves ready for sleep. Like it's a 24-hour game that we actually play. We don't know that. But sleep is the most complex physiological process that happens in our body. And it's happening during the day. And I mentioned to you that we should be eating for sleep. We should be nourishing our bodies and really eating for sleep, setting ourselves up during the day. So having the exercise, eating like really good nutrient meals, but eating really well throughout the day, supplementing.
So you're still like a one-stop shop, you know what I mean? Like it's just not the sleep, but all around the sleep, which is the food and everything else. Darren, what did you say? How many hours you sleep per night?
Maybe about 8. 7, 8. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not so many.
So did you like those pills I sent you for sleeping now? You're listening live 90.5 Business Insights with Darren and Mari. We'll take a short break before the news 1 o'clock and the new guests arrive in studio. With us, our guest, Catherine Nixon, authority, credibility, somebody who has expertise, is going to help you with sleeping. Very important part of our life, even we are ignoring this one. We'll take a short break. Live 90.5. Yes.
Back soon.
Yes.
Five minutes to 1, live 90.5 Business Insights with Murray and Darren. And we're here with Catherine Nixon. And we're just going to go a few questions talking about sleep and snoring and all those things. But if someone needs help, what's the best way they can get help from you?
Yeah, best way, like you can, so all social handles. So you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So if you search Vitamin C Blog, you'll find me on all channels, and or you can subscribe to vitamincblog.com or contact at vitamincblog.com.
Well, thank you very much for this one. But before we end, because new guests have come, Catherine, I know that we spoke about other things in sleeping, but what I'm interested before we go, when the people need to come to you, where's the moment when they say to you, I need to come see help of the professional like yourself? What's the signs we need to observe as individuals? So like, I really need the help.
Yeah. So I think if you're symptomatic and you're waking up unrefreshed, you don't feel like your best during the day, you're struggling with weight, you've got skin issues, so you might be suffering with skin issues. So there's big links between sleep and skin, because this is where the gut health plays in. So if you've got skin issues, if you've got underlying health conditions that you're aware of, if you find that you just live in brain fog, like you can't remember things, your short-term memory is good, and you're just not feeling good, you're feeling really low in mood and you don't feel good about yourself, you should reach out, because once you've got symptoms, you're on the road and you need someone to help you get off the road. You can't do things alone in health. You have to do them with people. But the other area of sleep that is equally as important is sleep wellness. So, when you found sleep health, you can go into the great world of sleep wellness. And a lot of people look for more sleep performance because they might be athletic, and it might be like, I want to feel sharp, or I want to lose some weight, feel pretty good, but I want sleep performance and that sleep wellness. And some people just love that kind of, I just want to feel great when I go to bed. And if you're seeking either sleep help because you're symptomatic, or you want sleep wellness and you're looking for that sleep performance, you should reach out. So really, it's for everyone.
So share with us, before we wind up this interview with you, again, how they can find you.
Yeah, so to find me,
thank you very much. That was a Catherine.
all social handles, so Vitamin C blog, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or subscribe to vitamincblog.com. And stay tuned, because next week is when we're going to really start rolling out lots of really cool information around your sleep hack programs.
You can share with our listeners, sending us the link.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Katrina, thank you for being our guest today in the studio. Truly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It's a true pleasure. Darren, you're going to reduce your sleep, increase the granny nap, as a Catherine suggested. No, I'm just lying. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a Catherine Nixon from Vitamin C. And you can reach her, and you can listen to this podcast today thanks to Darren Capes Davis on our website, alive905.com.au. And just search the podcast under the Business Insights with Marion Darren. Catherine Nixon, she explained to the detail why sleep is important, how to sleep, and as well, if you have some signs or issues around the sleep, she's happy to help you. So all details about her is there on the podcast. Stay with us.